Beyond the Bell, Bloomberg's comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close starts right now.
And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick, Scarlet Fu, counting you down to the closing of bell, and here to help take us beyond the bell. It's a global simulcast with Massar and Tim Stenovec. Welcome to our audiences across Bloomberg Television, Radio, Quick Take, as well as on YouTube. And Carol, we got to start here with the rally that continues to sort of persist and strengthen into the close. S&P 500, which has not meaningfully breached that 200-day moving average for months, now right there on the precipice.
Yeah, and look at it. As you said, buying into the close, I always feel like that is a significant bullish sign. Yeah. And we're just seeing it across the board. Investors definitely, at least on the equity side of things, willing to take some risks.
And to your point, Carol, we should point out, not just the close, but when you see that type of strength at the open, which you've seen a lot of, and at the close, certainly a bullish signal, at least as far as that tag team goes.
Absolutely.
We did just speak to Austin Graff, the founder and CIO at Opal Capital. He said proceed with caution. He's looking at these rallies. He says they could, quote, be false starts.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, but I guess maybe we get a little bit more insight into that tomorrow, Scarlett, because this does seem to be a bet that inflation is moderating and economic conditions aren't as bad as maybe what was priced in earlier.
Yeah, it feels like a carbon copy of what we got last month before the CPI report, where the market rallied into the report. And of course, there was a pop in the minute before the release at 8:30 a.m. When I look at how the sectors are performing, given that the S&P 500 is closing near its highs, it's a pretty broad advance. With all 11 groups in the green. Yeah,
all 11 groups in the green, and a broad market rally here. And finally, on a day where I think a lot of folks are sort of looking ahead to that CPI report, maybe this is the optimism that the market needed. Getting the closing bells here in New York, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average going to finish the day higher by about 0.8%. The S&P 500 higher by about 1.3%. We should point out, for those watching, that 200-day moving average, it still sits right around 39.87. So we're just shy of that, but a big test, though, potentially for that heading into tomorrow and the days beyond. The NASDAQ Composite higher on the day as well by about 1.7%, 1.8%. Still a long ways to go before getting back to its long-term moving average. Russell 2000, which has reclaimed its moving average here on the day, up 1.2% here on the day, guys.
All right, piling on the bullish tone. Scarlett touched on this. Looking at the S&P 500, 407 names gaining ground today. And if I look at the NASDAQ 100, 83 names. So, Scarlett, no doubt about it that, if you're looking for a tone today, it definitely was a bullish one.
Yeah, the advance has really broadened this year. And if you look at the S&P 500 index, it's up about 2.9% through yesterday. But the S&P 500 equal-weighted index is up by 1 percentage point more. And that's reflected here in the best performers of the day. This is the 24 industry groups in the S&P 500, and you can see all but 2 are in the green. The decliners are some of the more pricey sectors within the S&P, because they are where investors found some comfort, some defensive qualities that they could pick up, whether it's household and personal products or telecoms. Carol?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look at all that green. So I had a lot of names to choose from, and GE Healthcare Technologies, number 1 in the S&P 500. This stock finishing up the day with an 8.3% gain, making its first acquisition as an independent company. It bought France's Imactis. They use computed tomography. Basically, it's guidance for surgeons when they're doing minimally invasive operations. So this is coming, by the way, one day after the company's new CEO says he sees M&A as an important part of its strategy. The company's CEO saying that at the J.P. Morgan Healthcare Conference in San Francisco. Our Kaylee Lyons has been there. Some great interviews, but again, that one definitely a standout today. Bed Bath & Beyond, Romaine, you talked about it. I don't know what the fundamental story is. Meme stock, retail investors, there isn't. I still get lost when I go in that store, but it's up about 68% here at the close.
Well, it's a little better now because there's nothing on the shelf, so you can actually see where you're going around.
I love how you think. Right now, you can see your way through. Heavy volume today. It's up more than 120% in the past 3 trading days. It's insane.
And you add that, of course, we should point out, 69% today. You had, 27, 28% yesterday, and I think
121% in the past
350 stocks now.
Monday. We'll see.
Yeah, well, and short interest, 33% afloat. So there are certainly some investors scrambling on that one. Tesla, also a standout, was up almost 6% at its highs today, finishing the day with about a 3.7%. Bloomberg exclusive company close to a preliminary deal to set up a factory in Indonesia, according to those familiar. This is Elon and Tesla looking looking to capitalize on Southeast Asian nations' reserves of key battery materials. That's going to be, I think, key going forward in the EV play. Tom.
It could be key here.
Tom, did I say Tom?
That's okay. That's my dad's name. Let's get to decliners today. Intuitive Surgical at the bottom of the S&P 500, down 4.2%. The company did report preliminary revenue for the fourth quarter. They make the Da Vinci surgical robot, by the way. That came in shy of estimates. The analysts wanted to see 1.69 billion. They said 1.66 billion. Salesforce finishing the day down by 1.7%.
People are quibbling over this. I was actually surprised by the market reaction to
Intuitive Surgical.
Yeah, to its,
it was just such a slight miss.
Yeah. But I think maybe that's a narrative, though, going into the earnings season, though. You miss even by the slightest margin, and people are just going to punish you.
Because the bar is so low, right?
Yeah.
It kind of makes me think about what CPI is tomorrow, right? And if there's just ever so slight miss there, what it does to wider
Well, the
markets.
great thing about CPI tomorrow is we know where the market's positioned, right? There's no ambiguity gliding into tomorrow.
Good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Salesforce down 1.7% today. Bernstein downgrading the company to underperform from market perform, writing that it's, quote, falling into growth purgatory. That's analyst Mark Mordler writing that. And Dell Technologies falling after we got some data from IDC that said PC shipments, global unit PC shipments fell below expectations for the fourth quarter. We also saw some other PC makers fall in that news too, including Hewlett-Packard.
All right, let's get a quick check on yields here. We did see a little bit of activity there with yields down across the board here, 3 basis points roughly on your 2-year yield here. A little bit more severe downturn when we look at the 10, 20, and 30-year yields, each down roughly about 8 to 10 basis points here. So the idea that you're seeing that buying on the long end of the curve, some people would take that as a bit of a bullish signal, particularly ahead of the big CPI report. Guys, I think we have to pivot back to one of the individual stories of the day, and this is around Apple. Latest headline coming across the Bloomberg terminal a few minutes ago, that Apple is working on adding touchscreens to Macs in a major reversal. Mark Gurman, who else would be breaking this other than him, joining us right now. And Mark, let's just start off here. I'm more interested in the reversal, because as somebody who was actually likes the touchscreen thing, I was kind of turned off by Apple products because you couldn't get it, at least not on the Macs themselves.
For over a decade now, Apple has been pushing back on the idea of adding touchscreens, right? Here's the fundamental problem with Apple added touch to the Mac, because everyone wants it. People maybe would stop buying iPads, right? Well, here's the thing. Mac sales are really outshining iPad sales at this point. Macs are performing better than ever because of their new processors and other tech they're putting in there. So Apple really needs to put its best foot forward with the Mac, and part of doing that is adding multi-touch to the screen, right? And they're planning on doing that starting in around 2025 with a new version of the MacBook Pro, which will also have a new OLED display. And this is going to be, I think, really hot for the market. People are going to want to buy touchscreen Macs. People have been clamoring for them and asking for them. But Apple's decried it, saying it's bad ergonomically. May be true. People want touch.
Yeah, they do. And aren't a lot of the Windows PCs, I mean, the Surface and, of course, all the other products that use Windows have moved on to that.
Well, let me correct you here. You said a lot. It's not a lot. Oh. All of them, right?
Oh, all of
them.
Okay.
Any laptop
That's
at this point you buy from a big manufacturer at this point, Microsoft, Google, Dell, Acer, Asus, they're all touch at this point. Apple's really the only one without touch because they don't want to compromise the iPad. But that's going to change.
Mark, real quickly, so how does this move the needle for Apple specifically when we know that the iPhone is so important to this company? How does it move it in another revenue stream?
Well, the Mac is really gaining steam revenue-wise and becoming a bigger part of the overall Apple story, or the Apple pie, I want to call it, in terms of revenue. And adding touch to the Mac will continue that. iPad sales have lagged. There needs to be something that fills that gap, and it's going to continue to be the Mac. Over time, they want to bring touch to all of their Macs. And so I think this is really big for them.
Mark, what does it mean for the operating system? Do we see sort of a melding between iOS and Mac OS?
I'm told there's no melding happening between iPad OS and Mac OS. So this is probably going to run Mac OS. iPad OS has its benefits. Mac OS has its benefits. And you'll sort of be able to do touch as well as the trackpad and keyboard. On the iPad, it'll be the same thing. Touch, iPad, you have the keyboard, the trackpad too. So it's going to be 2 different form factors. Same input methods for both, 2 different operating systems, but they're unifying all the apps, right? And that's another key thing. You can run iPhone and iPad apps on your Mac right now. You can't touch them, but you can run. You can use a trackpad and keyboard to run your iPad apps on an iPad.
Mark Gurman, thank you so much, and congratulations on yet another exclusive. Mark reporting that Apple's working on adding touch screens to Macs in a major turnabout from what Steve Jobs had wanted. And it's been pretty consistent that Apple's doing a lot of things that Steve Jobs didn't envision.
Yeah, somebody who migrated away from Mac to the Windows operating system, a big part of the reason for me personally was the touch screen. So it'll be interesting here. Some other breaking news crossing the wire, guys. This is on AMD, a new CFO. Coming in, CFO transition for AMD, Gene Hu, and I don't know much about this person, but they now have a new CEO over at AMD.
Yeah, that's
CFO,
pretty interesting. CFO, okay,
Sorry.
and the stock is just down about 0.9% in the after hours, so we'll look for some more analysis in terms of the impact. All right, guys, that is a wrap. A lot going on, a lot more to come certainly this week. That'll do it for our cross-platform coverage, radio, TV, Bloomberg, Quick Take, and of course on YouTube. We'll see you again, same time, same place tomorrow.